Just want to add a little trigger warning for mentions of death, death of a child, death of a parent, school shootings, suicide, abuse, grief, depression, and the COVID-19 pandemic. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Hi, my name is Brooke Lipman.
And I'm Dr. Deb Lipman.
And this is Wine Together,
a podcast where we drink some wine and have a chat.
So sit back, relax, and get that corkscrew ready.
I'm not laughing at you.
Okay, I was like, are you okay?
So, we have a French wine. So, we,
Yeah.
What is it?
JP Chenet, what?
No, what do we say for French?
Santé.
Santé? Santé. So, I don't know why I can't remember that one. I just cannot. But I haven't tried it. I mean, I've had this wine many times. So it's not like I would have to sip it to tell you what I think of this wine, but it's perfect for the afternoon because it's soft.
Yeah, and especially it's kind of gross out. I mean, not like that it's rainy. It's just
that winter came back to Switzerland. That's what it is. Yeah. We were expecting it, but honestly, not in May. I was expecting it in late April, and in late April we had
it was nice,
almost summer-like weather. Mm-hmm. We were getting our sun and sitting outside, drying our clothes in the sun, and what beautiful, beautiful weather we had. And now we're back to winter, and so.
Well, at least Sunday is supposed to be nice, and you know what Sunday is?
What is Sunday?
Mother's Day.
Oh, well.
That's when this episode comes out. Yeah.
That is when this episode will come out. So, yeah, Mother's Day, Sunday. You know, unfortunately, last year my mother passed on Mother's Day. Mm-hmm. We had, our relationship had completely, I was not speaking to my mother at that time. My sister did send me, because my sister and I was crazy. This was actually probably the time that my sister and I got back together as far as our relationship. Mm-hmm. But she, you know, that particular weekend, it was, you know, just we were constantly back and forth. And Mason was here. I was trying not to ruin Mason's trip to Switzerland, but we had gone on a trip to Milan, Italy. And on the train ride back, my sister sent me a text. She said, "You need to call." And so I called, and she said, "I'm just going to turn my camera on and leave the two of you alone for a few minutes." And that was when I was able to say goodbye. And then, you know, a few minutes later, she passed. Mm-hmm. And it was, I mean, just like that. It really was just like that. So it wasn't something we were expecting. She was, as far as we knew, was not in ill health. But, you know, still stuff happens. Mm-hmm. You know. But, I mean, it's so funny because it is, I read a book yesterday. And this is where you'll have to put the trigger warning. You probably should put it at the very beginning. The book was written, oh gosh, you know, it's not quite 10 years old yet. I don't remember I guess next year, it'll probably be 10 years old next year. So for some reason, I have not picked this one up yet. Mm-hmm. But it was right around this time last year, someone has sent me a recommendation to read this book. Mm-hmm. And I went ahead and bought it on Kindle, but I had not read it yet. And I thought, well, you know, I figured it was going to take me a few days to read it because it was, it wasn't a short book.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, I was able to just get through it yesterday. Not quite. I did finish it yesterday, but I have to tell you the funniest thing about it was I was sitting here reading because, I didn't feel well yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was reading it on the couch, and my Kindle just died. I was probably less than 100 pages from finishing it. And I said, oh, man. So I went to put the Kindle on the charger, which is in my bedroom. And I just went ahead and just laid down in the bed and finished the book. So, of course, when your dad gets home, I'm laying in the bed reading, and he's just like, oh, God, is it that bad? I said, yes, I feel that bad. But part of it was getting through this book. It was a tough read as a mother.
Mm-hmm.
But also for someone who experienced that time. This was before you were born.
Uh-huh.
But I'm sure you've heard of it because your whole life.
Yeah.
Because of the incident of what her son did.
Uh-huh.
You had to learn active shooter drills.
Yeah.
Her son was one of the Columbine shooters.
Okay.
And she went through the whole story, all their emotions, like at the minute they're finding out.
Mm-hmm.
And her emotion is not, of course, her brain didn't even go there.
Mm-hmm.
No way. Her brain went to, oh my God, my kid's in that school.
Yeah.
Is my kid okay? Is my kid okay? Never was her brain saying, is my kid responsible for this?
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
And of course, that's what you would expect from a mother.
Yeah.
And their lifestyle, as I was reading this book, it was so much like ours.
Interesting.
They were just the typical, middle-class family.
Mm-hmm.
Not filthy rich, not, struggling to figure out how they're going to pay for college.
Mm-hmm.
Just typical, very typical American family. And it dawned on her because, all the emotions that she went through, of course, it took her years to get through all these emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm recalling it correct, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 years after the fact, someone pointed out to her that her son died by suicide. Not that she didn't know. Mm-hmm. Of course she knew that. But she was taking on the weight of all of this as if she were just an inkling bit responsible. Mm-hmm. And not realizing that she needed to grieve as a suicide survivor. Mm-hmm. And once she made that step, mm-hmm. and once she realized how and the support she needed to grieve, she was able to see all the other stuff. Mm-hmm. She never denied that her son did it. Mm-hmm. And, he did, other typical teenage boy stuff in his junior year, got caught, breaking into a car and stealing some electronics and stuff like that. But, he paid for that. Mm-hmm. He did what he was supposed to do. And then, in his senior year, this is what he did. And 3 days before that, or 2 days, 3 days before that, he had gone to a senior prom. So nobody saw it coming.
Yeah.
And I think that was what I got the most out of it. Most that I got out of it was, which is what I was wanting to get, was, the mothers. Mm-hmm. How do we support other mothers? And I think that I wish I had read it a long time ago. Mm-hmm. I think it definitely would have, it probably would have, I don't know, it might have changed some things. I think I would have been a better mother. Okay. Had I read it, back then. But of course, that would have been when you were 14. If mm-hmm. I had read it then, I would have been a much better mother to you.
I think you.
I think that mother. I needed to know what I learned yesterday when you were starting high school.
Okay.
I think it would have been better. So I recommend A Mother's Reckoning by Sue Klebold to every mother. Especially mothers of teenagers. Mm-hmm. Because I cannot imagine what she went through. the wrath of the world
Mm-hmm.
was against this woman.
Yeah. I know, that's so, because, like, how do you, as a parent, like, because that's so tough, especially if it, like, comes, like, you don't expect it, and people just kind of, if the kid is not there, they just kind of blame the parent at that point, which is, like, that's so tough.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of the time, it's, like, the parent hasn't done anything to, like...
And they, I mean, now you got to think about it. As you're reading the book, and I hope everybody will read it, especially mothers of teenagers. I hope you will read this book before your kids graduate high school. You have to remember it is from her perspective.
Mm-hmm.
This is what she remembers, and a lot of it, she's like me. She journals,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of it was from her journals. A lot of it was she couldn't remember certain details, and she had to go back to the police report to get certain details and stuff like that. So, but keep in mind, it's her perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It was what she thought she did right and possibly missed as a mother.
Yeah.
And because no one in her family kind of exhibited, because especially in 1999 when we thought of depression, we thought of people who were saying out loud, I'm ready to end it all. That's how we thought of depression. We also thought of depression in 1999, which this is not mentioned in the book, but from my experience of 1999, we thought of it more of as a women's problem. If teenagers it was more teenage girls.
Yeah.
It was never, something that you would think of for teenage boys. And that is not mentioned in the book that I recall. But, I don't think you would have thought to ask your teenage boy, are you thinking about ending your life? And I think, what I've learned now, you definitely should not dance around that question. If you really are concerned about somebody, you need to ask that question. Ask that question. Don't be afraid to say, is suicide an option for you? Is this something you're thinking about? Don't be afraid to say that, because this is how you're going to help them. Because if they trust you enough, they're going to tell you, and then they get the help. So I think that I hate what that family went through. I hate what every family went through. Because I remember watching it. Not as it was unfolding, but soon after it was unfolding, I remember watching it and thinking, my goodness gracious. And then all the stuff that was on in the news. And I hear what you're saying. We blame parents, and we do. Anything a teenager does, we blame the parents. But let me tell you what I've learned, and I wish I had learned this also sooner, before my kids were teenagers. Unfortunately, I didn't learn it till I were young adults. Adolescence, that whole period in your life is a period where you are supposed to kind of pull away from your parents.
Yeah.
It's normal for adolescents to think that their parents are stupid.
Yeah.
Smartest parents in the world are stupid to their teenagers.
All teenagers think they're the smartest person, that they know everything. That's
Absolutely.
just how teenagers
But see,
are.
I didn't know that. I mean, I didn't learn that till y'all were already past that age, and I wish I had known that, because I think some things would have gone differently.
See,
I certainly would have parented different.
That's what's crazy to me, is that it feels like there's that divine. That's why a lot of teenagers don't ever see their parents as having been teenagers, because they act like they never went through that phase, and that because there are those parents that do think that their children have nothing to contribute to anything, and that they don't know what life is like, and that's
your dad
true.
was really good. Well, it helps that he was younger than me. He's still younger than me. I don't know why I said was. But as we were in the throes of parenting young and teenagers, he constantly reminded me that y'all were children. He was really, really good about reminding me of the role that you played in the family. And it was a good thing because I had such high expectations, and I have nothing. I don't feel guilty about having high expectations because I think we should have high expectations of everyone, even our friends. Our friends need to, behave in certain ways. I mean, yes, people can be forgiven for, a few little dumb things, but you also need to understand the difference between the dumb prank and abuse. And so I think that that's kind of where I'm coming from with, expect some, I guess, silliness, expect some not making the best decisions, but also know the difference between what's somebody just not making a good decision and what is a pattern. So, that's kind of my thing. But it's hard it's really hard parenting is a hard job. I honestly, and I've said this so many times, it is a team sport. I wouldn't wish I wish everyone had the support that they need as parents. I would never wish single parenthood on anybody because I know what it was like. I know how hard it was. I mean, I had to work so many jobs. I didn't get to spend much time with Justin as a child, as a baby, because I didn't have support in that way. I mean, I couldn't team sport it, I guess is the best way to say it. And I think that I parented him in a different way than I parented y'all. And I feel bad about that. But I had no choice.
Yeah.
I had no choice. And, I don't think he holds it against me. I certainly hope not. But,
No.
But, I mean, but then there's the times where parenting is the best thing in the world. Like right now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay.
It's the best part of my life. It's being a mom.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm supposed to say it's being a wife and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? That's good. But there's just nothing like being a mom. And, I know there are so many people out there who choose not to, and they have that right. And there's people who want to be and can't be. And so the heartbreak of motherhood, it falls on that side of it, I think, a lot of times. And of course, so many people who have lost their children to suicide or horrible accidents or crime, and it just I fortunately can't imagine that. But I don't think there's ever a time that I don't worry about it. My youngest child is 22. That's you. And my oldest is
there.
29.
Did you notice that you rhymed?
No, I did not. And my oldest is 29. Going to be 40 this year.
40?
I said 29, did I? 39. He's 39. He's 39, and it's going to be 40 this year.
I was like, oh, yeah, sorry. I think I said for a second.
Well, no, because it's going to be 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were.
So I've got, this year, 2025, I'll have, by the end of this year, I'll have a 40-year-old and a 30-year-old child. And I've got to quit calling them my kids. Yeah. Wow. Mason's going to be 30. Gosh. Justin's going to be 40. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Who would have thought? Yeah, it's so funny because I never, when I was 14, I remember this so clearly. All I wanted when I was 14 was to go to college. Because I thought, well, one, nobody in my family had ever gone to college and graduated. I don't know if anybody had ever attempted college at that point. And I'm talking family, not just my immediate family, even though that's how we count those generations. But no one in my extended family had gone to college. In fact, it was frowned upon to even think about it. But all I wanted was to go to college. And at 14, I said to my grandmother, I'm not having any kids. I'm never having children. I'm never getting married. And that was my plan, was to go to college. I was dumb enough at that time to think that, I'd get my bachelor's degree and have this great career, and, nothing could stop me. And then, turns out a bachelor's degree doesn't guarantee you anything in the world.
No, it does not.
Except for some people, like me, a lot of debt. Definitely wasn't, definitely didn't have prospects for a special job or anything. And especially somebody who was a first generation college student, that it took so long for me to figure out and navigate the process. It took me so long to get a bachelor's degree and figure it all out that, I was behind the 8 ball by the time I graduated from college. But I did go on to graduate school, and I did get a terminal degree, but that's not, that guarantees me nothing.
Yeah.
So I think that, I don't know. I was hoping I'd have it all figured out by now.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to take me this long to figure it out. But it's taken me a long time. But I still have great kids, and I'm just lucky. Lucky to be a mother. And I know that takes a lot of luck. And I think it's different for every single person, but that's my experience, is that I just feel blessed. And I don't know any other way to say it. But I recommend that book. It was great. I probably cried more yesterday. I was sitting here reading and crying, and I thought, okay, I got to stop. Maybe I won't try to finish it. Maybe let me see where I'm at in the book. And it was like, on the Kindle, it was saying 295 pages. So that's basically double that for page turns.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I was like, okay, well, it's less than 400 times swiping that page.
Yeah.
I can do it. And then, of course, when the Kindle died, I thought, oh, well, maybe I'm not meant to finish this book. Well, I'll just go in there and finish this lesson.
Did you finish it before I got back?
When, yesterday?
Yeah.
No, I finished it.
Okay.
When did you? What do you mean?
When I left to go up to the stores, and then.
Oh no, I did not. I didn't finish it. I finished it right before your dad got home.
Okay.
And so when he walks in, I swear, I hope he does not watch this or listen to this. So when he walks in, I was crying because, oh my God, it was such a good book. And then I went back through it and was reading certain parts again. And, so when he comes in, I'm in the bed. I hadn't been feeling well. And I'm crying because of this book, but I couldn't tell him it was because of the book.
Okay.
So he was just like, because he's made fun of me many times for crying over music and books and stuff, and TV shows and movies. So anyway, I couldn't tell him, and so he just thought something really bad was wrong, and I just let him believe it, because I didn't feel well. I didn't feel good at all. Well, yesterday was really bad.
Yeah. I told him we should take you back to the hospital. But...
Yeah. Well, one step at a time. We're going to figure it all out. So, but, yeah, this weekend it's supposed to be nice on Sunday?
Yes.
I'm glad.
It's like sunny, and I think it was like 15 or 16.
Last year on Mother's Day, I got my olive tree.
Was it on Mother's Day? I thought I graduated on Mother's Day.
Well, for my Mother's Day gift, before I came to the United States for your graduation. Yeah. You graduated you graduated the Saturday after Mother's Day, because my mother passed away on the 12th. Okay. We flew in, I think, maybe the 14th.
Okay.
And then you graduated on the 18th.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And so it was like the week after.
So it was
Mother's
okay. Yeah,
Day.
it was after Mother's Day. For whatever reason, I thought it was, but I think there was one time I got home on Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm.
So, that.
I think that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. You had 2, 4, 6, 7 semesters away.
Yep.
And one semester, your first semester, you did it here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that I know that upset
6
you.
semesters on campus.
But as a mom, I was like, oh, thank God. I'll never forget when you sent me the text messages. It was in July. I had gone down to meet your dad and his friends for a drink after work.
Mm-hmm.
And we were sitting there, and I got a text message from you. Dean's gone to online for next semester. And I was like, yes, yes. And everybody sitting there was like, oh, I know you are happy. I said, and I know she is not. I said, I'm kind of scared to go home. I said, I am so excited that she does not have to leave right away.
It's kind of nice.
So
but
I said, we'll make it work.
The funny thing is, like, you remember like specifics, and like so much has happened in the last 5 years that I do not even remember that.
That's just my brain. That's just my brain. I do remember specifics about a lot of things.
Yeah. I remember there being an email, but I don't really remember much else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I do remember that. And then I remember, soon after that, like within days, I was like, okay, we got to figure out how we're going to make this work. We got to figure out your workroom. We got to make sure you got the computer that you need. And, we got to make sure, everything. Everything had to be just right. And your dad ordered the dance floor, that movable dance floor, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then we just made the plans. We had a semester-long plan for how this house was going to work for your semester.
Mm-hmm.
So
I also remember having to do all the beginning stuff, and they never sent me stuff for that I had to get completed before the semester started. So the Title IX stuff that you have to do a quiz and they never sent that to me. I had to email them 6 times. The lady that was doing the that was the freshman advisor, so not the advisor for your classes and stuff. Yeah. Just the lady that gets you ready. I think she got fired right after that.
It's so funny because to me, now I heard you and Mason talking about online classes, and I am a huge advocate of online school.
Yeah, I did online classes. I thought
I never ever had a problem with online, and I truly believe that there are people who learn like me that is what is better for them. Mm-hmm. And I think that we can make school to be what's best for the students. Mm-hmm. With today's technology, there's absolutely no reason why we have to force people into a social situation that is so hard for them that they can't get the best learning. Yeah.
Except for certain things like med school, when you have to do.
Well, yeah, there's things
stuff like that.
Absolutely. But so many potential med school students don't make it through high school because of just how hard the social aspect of it is. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of potentials that fall by the wayside because we expect everybody to do everything the way we did it. Mm-hmm. Well, schools, I feel like some of the things that are not, I shouldn't speak for everybody. I can only speak for one school district that I know well. Mm-hmm. And we're not focusing on the things we got to really get serious about making kids read.
Yeah.
My last job, it was a very different kind of setting. Mm-hmm. And these young men, except for one is a phenomenal student as far as students go. They can't read.
Yeah.
They couldn't read.
One of my roommates, my senior year, was literally would say, like, we'd talk about books or something, and she'd basically brag about the fact that she's practically illiterate. And I'm like, that's not something to brag about.
No.
That's not something to laugh about.
You should be embarrassed about that. You should be hurt by that.
Maybe not embarrassed, but you should be willing to improve yourself.
Absolutely.
Like, you should improve and want to improve and not just be set at being like, oh, yeah, like, I can't read. That's not, like, that's not something to laugh about. That's something that maybe, like, it's something that you should be willing to work on to improve. Even if you're at that, like, you're already in college and stuff, you should still be willing to work on it and not just settle for, like, I can't function by myself.
Right. Because every class depends on being able to read and comprehend what you've read. And, you know, I was not a prolific reader in school. I didn't become a reader, really, until my second pregnancy. And your dad, I had to go on bed rest, so your dad goes and buys me books. And I'm thinking, okay, you know, I had enough work to do. I thought that I would be okay even being on bed rest. But he goes and he bought me 2 John Grisham books. The Pelican Brief and The Firm.
Okay.
And so I read them in backwards order because I'm pretty sure The Pelican Brief was first, but I didn't read it first. I read The Firm because I knew Tom Cruise was in that movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so I read The Firm and couldn't put it down. And I was like, I have never enjoyed a book as much as I enjoyed that book. And so then your dad said, well, definitely read The Pelican Brief because I liked it better.
Yeah.
And so I read The Pelican Brief and again, couldn't put it down. And couldn't get it in. So he started when he would buy me books, he started me on there was this series from the ABCs.
Sue Grafton.
Sue Grafton.
Her books.
Yeah. And so he started me on those. And he said, you know, he bought me one book, and then he said, let's get the rest from the library. And I said, okay. So, you know, I would check them out from the library. Every once in a while, for like my birthday or Mother's Day or something, he'd get me a book. And it would be one of those. And so then, you know, his dad, who was a prolific reader, always has been, said, I haven't read any of those. I thought, what? And so I let him have the ones that I had and then told him, you know, which ones I'd gotten from the library and stuff like that. And I thought, you know, that this is fun to, and you and I exchange books. Yeah. And to me, that's fun. Yeah. That we have that. And I just said, I've given you a couple in the past month.
I know. I'm so behind on reading, and I need to. It's just really hard to get.
Well, you've got that one that you're finishing. Yeah. You got, what, 2 chapters left in that?
Well, I've got like 6 chapters left.
I thought you said you had 2 left.
No. I said... Yeah, I still
You said
have, like,
2.
I did not say 2.
I thought you
like
did.
6.
I guess it was my wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Maybe I thought I had read some more since then.
And so I thought you were down to the end. But that is
it's still the end.
really good book.
The last 6 chapters are not that long.
Yeah, they're not. It's a good book. I like that author. Yeah. But I love that we share books. Yeah. You know, because I can't remember. I've been trying to get through all the ones that you've recommended or passed my way, and I don't know if I have.
Yeah, I mean, they're all kind of like...
Oh, I know I haven't gotten through... And I've definitely haven't finished.
A lot of them are like teenage adult, like young adult books. Yeah. So, well, not even young adult, like kids books, but... Yeah.
Yeah, and so... But I have to say, it's so funny because the one I'm on... I finished Mark of Athena, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm on House of Hades. Yeah. And I have to say, I was so angry at the end of Mark of Athena that things didn't finish. They just kind of went into another set of stuff. And that, but I wanted the end of their time in Italy, I guess. Yeah. I wanted that to be over. In Rome, not Italy, Rome, which I guess is Italy. But yeah. And so I wanted that part to be over. And then we just did not. And so
that part is over.
No, it's not. Yes, they're in the house. No. They're down in the tunnel.
It's not a tunnel.
Well, they're underworld. And so they're at the door.
Which means it's not
They're not. It's not
You don't
over.
do them anymore.
Okay, well.
I think you missed the point of it.
I guess I
missed
did.
that part.
I guess I did because yeah, and sometimes I do feel my heart racing when I read some of the books that you and your siblings recommend to me. Like I've started Dune. I'm gonna finish. I'm hoping to finish that this summer. Because Mason recommended me that, and I did go ahead and buy all 6 of the Dune books on the Kindle for Mason, and of course we share a Kindle library, which I love that too. I love that we share a Kindle library. I still haven't tried
reading on the paperwhite one because I'm
you
a
should
little
try
bit
it
worried
because it's great outside.
Yeah, I just
but it's small.
Because no, it's the big one.
Mine is. That one's not paperwhite.
The purple one?
That's not paperwhite.
Well, you said it's better for like my eyes and it.
Yeah, because it's bigger.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, screens give me headaches if I'm reading too much of them, so. That's why, I can't.
Well, I think if you take that little paperwhite, it won't, because it really does. It's just like paper. Like
Dad's old Nook that he had.
Yes, and he's got my paperwhite. Well, I've got it now, but I took it back from him. But I left it here when I had to go back to the U.S. to work. I left the paperwhite, and I had downloaded a couple of books for him, thinking that he would read kind of with me, and he didn't. But he spends so much time working on his bike and stuff.
Can I have the Kurt Vonnegut book back?
Oh yeah. I think he read that one. Yeah, you can have that. Did he not give it back to you?
No.
I'm surprised because he did read that last summer, and I want him to read. There's a couple I want him to read this summer. So, but
we've gotten way off topic.
We have but that's okay. It's that's kind of what we do.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, I don't know. Talking about how we have that love of sharing books, that's kind of okay for Mother's Day part. But I think that I don't have memories from my childhood. What I remember about Mother's Day was my mom's birthday was always so close by. Mm-hmm. So, and there was. I swear I thought there was one time when her birthday fell on Mother's Day, but I don't see how that can be possible if it's the second Sunday in May, because she's May 15th. But it must have been like Mother's Day was the 14th or something, or the 13th, and then her birthday was. But I mean, I just remember making things, and then I remember, but I just remember, I don't remember, like I remember certain holidays always with the family, but not necessarily Mother's Day. I remember it more, I remember it much more from my teenage years after I was working that I could buy a gift or make a gift because I had money to buy stuff to make something. Mm-hmm. But I don't remember much of it before that.
Okay.
So, but, I know it's funny because I always have to try to remember everybody I'm supposed to text.
Yeah.
And so, and so it's, I just have to make my list. I usually make my list on Saturday night. Text blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. So, and at one point, like when you were dancing, there were so many dance moms that I made sure I texted them on Mother's Day. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was just a thing between us.
Yeah,
us dance moms. I mean, I don't ever remember having phone numbers of hockey moms. I don't remember. I definitely didn't have phone numbers of Taekwondo moms or soccer moms. But I had every dance mom's phone number.
Well, I mean, you guys had to because Destiny, you guys did literally everything.
Yep, we did. We helped with making sure costumes were correct. Even though they were ordered, a lot of them had to have sequins or something put on. Some had to be taken in. Mm-hmm. So we did all that handiwork. Mm-hmm. We made sure sets were done, and hair and makeup, and there's a huge production that requires the help of dance moms.
Yeah. It's still annoying that we paid for some of those costumes that we never got to keep.
Yeah. I don't understand that. But anyway, but you've got some cute ones.
Yeah, I do still have all of my old costumes.
And most of the hats still fit.
I know. I
Which is hilarious.
The genie hat.
You were like 6. And that one, but it was so funny because I remember having to try to keep that thing on during the dance. It was just, that was a tough one because it would not fit.
Yeah.
But it fits now.
Yeah. Well, I think the strap is all loose and so
well, that's because we had to stretch it and tie it around, and so we got a lot of, through that particular recital season.
Yeah.
It got but that was funny. That's cute. Yeah, you got some cute costumes.
Yeah.
And some pieces of some of them, like there was a hip hop dance when you were older where we had to buy special sneakers. So you got those sneakers you got to wear those sneakers.
Well, that one I got to keep because that was from a different studio. So that one. Yeah, well, we ended up getting rid of those sneakers though because they died.
But you wore them. That's what I'm saying. You got to wear them on the street afterwards, and so, and that was fun. And so, is that like a bibbed overall costume?
What do you mean? It was the overalls and the Rugrats shirt.
It's a shorts overalls?
No,
a long overalls.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think they're in the basement. We put a bunch of my old dance costumes in the basement, which I would love to wear them more if they fit. They were kind of stiff.
We can soften them up probably with fabric softener or something.
Yeah.
But well, it would be if we could go through the basement and get some stuff out.
I know.
It'd be kind of nice because I have a lot of stuff I want to see if it works in my kitchen because I know,
Anyway,
because I was just talking to you about breaking up when you made my shepherd's pie for me last week. Thank you. That was so delicious.
I cooked
and lunch today was so delicious.
And I made lasagna the other day.
Yeah. And I have to say, a first lasagna, that was excellent for a first lasagna. And it can absolutely, of course, there's a little, we can absolutely remember to put the Parmesan on it next time to make the crispy crust.
We have to make it less liquidy. I don't know.
That was, and I think, I don't know. Part of that was that we used jarred sauce.
Okay. Yeah.
We didn't make our homemade sauce, so that's part of that.
Yeah.
So we didn't make a homemade sauce. I mean, we'll teach you that eventually, but I wanted to get rid of those sauces because otherwise they'll sit up there and not get used because we will continue to make homemade sauce and but we needed to use those up.
We need to make a pizza then.
Absolutely, we need to make a pizza. This weekend would be a great weekend for pizza.
Yeah. There's 2 football games on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
But are you guys gonna? If you guys go somewhere, then I'll watch those.
Yeah. So probably.
I've already got you your Mother's Day present.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. It's so funny because I used to get so upset when your dad wouldn't do something for me for Mother's Day.
We always did. We made you breakfast in bed.
Yes. But there were times before you were born that, he wouldn't. I mean, we just wouldn't. And, I've always made sure Father's Day was such a big deal. And I can remember times being hurt on Mother's Day because the kids were too small to figure something out. And then he was like, "You're not my mother." This was the things that he would say to me when we were early in our marriage. And I thought, I am the mother of your children.
Yeah.
But he didn't see it that way.
Yeah.
He really didn't see it that way. And so, but I can remember, it's so funny because one picture that comes back on Facebook around this time, every year is one of those memories, is it was maybe a year or 2 before we left the United States on Mother's Day. And you guys had gone into the kitchen and cleaned the island off because y'all were planning this breakfast.
Yeah.
And y'all made pancakes and eggs, and I mean, you just made this huge breakfast. What was brunch by the time it was finished? We had brunch, not breakfast. But yeah, I had cleaned the kitchen, and it was just like I took a picture from the living room because your dad actually said, "No, you sit still. You just stay here." And all of y'all were in the kitchen. It was one of those kitchens where everyone could fit in it.
Yeah.
I love that kitchen. I will say, I can't imagine loving a kitchen more than I love that one. So I miss that one because this one is
tiny. Yeah. We've got a couple new gadgets though to make it a little bit easier.
Yeah. We have. So, but and now the air fryer. That's
well, that's what
I know
I was talking
you love
about.
it.
Yeah.
I know you love it, and it's so funny because I had been wanting to cook wings, and then I saw the recipe yesterday for the air fryer wings, and I'm telling you, I can't wait. So maybe this weekend, I'm telling you, this weekend.
Well, then we're gonna do pizza.
If we do pizza, we can do wings.
Wings, okay. Yeah.
So, So I love wings and pizza. But it's so I can't wait to try air fryer.
They also have boneless wings, so you could get your ones with bones, and I could get.
Well, we could just put the sauce that I put on the wings on a chicken breast, and you can cut it up small and kind of make it that way. That's basically what that is. Because we just do the sauce on a boneless breast, and cut it up. So, and you already know how to do that because you did that today. It's delicious. Thank you. But I think the little ones, it wouldn't hurt to do a little less time.
Okay.
Felt like it was a little dry, but I still thought it was delicious.
Well,
the seasonings you put on it were so good.
I just did it on the setting that they have for it. So.
Yeah. It was good. It was really good. Yeah. I had a great lunch. I appreciate it. But anything else?
I don't know.
Well, I could just talk forever, but I would like to hear. Do you think? Do you think we ever stop learning? Like, I was talking about, I could be a better mother if I knew all this stuff before. Do you think it's just too late to stop learning things like that?
No, I don't think so.
I don't either. I really don't. I think that it's important that we continue to learn and grow and try to be better.
We're not kids anymore, but you're still our mother.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was. That's hard for me to not be the trainer, basically. To have to sit and listen when you don't want advice. Yeah. That's hard for me. but I know that when y'all complain to me, I know my first question after you're finished is to be, do you want advice? And I think a lot of times I just sit and listen and I don't ask that question because I've gotten, I've done the wrong thing so many times by immediately offering advice without asking the question. So I think I'm still not in the right spot to remember to say, do you want advice? I'm still not there. So still working on my mothering skills in that. Yeah. But, we've got some great mothers in our family. Jana's a mother now. Katie's a mother now. Angie has been a mother for a long time. Yeah, and Angie's children. Yeah. Angie has a child that's a mother. Crystal, Justin married Crystal, and she's kind of in the family as a mother, and and they're also different from me, and nothing wrong with that. We mother very differently, and I think that we all can learn from each other. I definitely learn from them. They're good. So, don't know that they want to learn from me, but I learn from them, and I think it's good. Yeah. I hope that your friends will be readers. I'm kind of concerned about this one now. Bothers me. And, because of what I dealt with my last job. When I found out they couldn't read well, I made sure that there was, 30 minutes in every day that we just sat and read. And there were some that would get up and leave during that time. And I would say, this is something you need to know how to do. Yeah. need to be able to read, and I would love for you to be able to love to read and love the stories that you're reading. I mean, I like what I'm reading right now. I'm going back to some, a different genre that I haven't, picked up in a long, long time. My Jesus genre.
Yeah.
Genre. So I have, and so because because I can see it from a different perspective now, and I like it. It's interesting to me, but okay. So I guess we're done, and we would like to say that we appreciate you guys listening and watching.
We'll be back next week with a new bottle of wine and a new topic. If you want to join the conversation, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Wine Together Pod. Join our Facebook group, Wine Together Podcast. And if you don't want to miss out on our regular weekly episodes along with all our bonus content, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, as well as subscribing, liking, and commenting on our YouTube, Wine Together Podcast.